Hello, test. How's the audio? Hello, test. We're live on both. Oh, I have Spotify open apparently. We're live on both Twitch and YouTube today. Is this a live recording? Yeah, it's a live recording. Yeah, it's a live stream. Okay, let's see. I'm streaming on Twitch, so I'm trying to see if it drops the video quality. So you guys let me know if for whatever reason we stop streaming in, if we stop streaming in full, you know, like 1080p or something. And then if that happens, then I'll stop it and just stream on YouTube. But video is not blurry on your end. Cool. Some people are saying it's blurry. So yeah, let me know and I'll try to make some adjustments. But I want to stream on both again now that I have Google Fiber and it can support that sort of upload bandwidth. But I'm just going to give you forewarning. Again, my dog isn't quite adjusted to the new place yet, so she might start barking midstream. So prepare your ear holes for a friendly barking at some point. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this this Bitcoin market here, huh? Let's zoom out and talk about what the prior market prediction was and what happened. So let's look at the 2 hour here. I'm gonna get rid of this fib fan, clean this up a little bit. You sound nasally? Well, fuck you, dude. How about that? You sound nasally. Excuse the shit out of me for having allergies. I'm just kidding. No, I know. Like my voice is like very like settled into my chest. Like I sound like the Men's Warehouse guy. You're gonna like the way you look. So let's look at this guy and let's talk about what went wrong. So previously this looked like a distribution, right? It had all the hallmarks of distribution. It even had this nice change of character here, right here, that made it look like he was going to up thrust after distribution. And when we closed out the stream, we were like right here. So it was like right on the supply line, which was perfect. It was right on the top of the trading range. It retested the previous top and it looked like all set to go. And then a fresh round of buying came in, and it made a new trading range. So where does that put us now? So let's, before we talk about the current trading range, let's zoom out to a more macro perspective and talk about where we stand in relation to the cloud and with the 250 EMA, because something really interesting is happening. There's a confluence of resistance overhead that I think is worth mentioning. So first and foremost, here's the one-day cloud, just default settings. I don't do anything special with my settings. I use default Bollinger Band settings and default cloud settings. So for those interested in that sort of stuff, that's what I use. And then here's the 50 and the 200 EMA. But something interesting is happening here, right? So if we zoom in really close here, where's my status? Oh shit, here we go. My cord is not long enough. Here we go, okay. So, so here's the one-day cloud, and it's a nice thick Kumo, which typically indicates consolidation. This is like a representation of consolidation. It's a visualization of consolidation, basically. So you can see here that like the wider it is, it's basically like you can think of it like expanding Bollinger Bands, and as the cloud comes to, you know, comes to a little squeeze slash twist, then it you know, represents consolidation and a potential reversal So a twist can sometimes indicate a reversal or even a lack of resistance to break through. If we were going to break through, this would be the time to do it because of how thin the cloud is. We're finding support on the 50 EMA at the moment, 50 EMA, but we haven't yet. So that's very interesting. We've tried 4 times to break through it. 1, 2, 3, 4 times to break through it, and we've been wicked every single time. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish, but it means that we lack the upward momentum to break through it at this exact moment. It's not to say I won't just break through, find support here and continue upward. So right now this is like a point of evaluation. We can call it point of evaluation if you want to call it something. But if we look at the 3-day, something else interesting pops up too. So 3-day, which I find to be a little bit more interesting than the 1-day, is decisively bearish. Okay. So we see this weak, let's get black. We see a weak bearish cross, weak bearish cross of the Tenkan and Kijun. So weak TK cross right here. God damn. K. Get rid of, yeah. Okay. Right here. A big fat Kijun right here. I'm sorry, Kumo right here. And it's expanding. We've got the 50 EMA overhead, which it is not currently breaking through. It is not breaking through whatsoever. And on top of that, we see a potential reversal doji. Reversal doji. Reversal doji is just like a really tight price spread, really thin body. It kind of just looks like a little plus sign, and that just this doesn't necessarily indicate a reversal. That's why I say potential reversal doji, but it does represent a point of indecision in the market. And right now it is testing the slow moving average. So if you think of like the anatomy of the Ichimoku cloud, right? You've got the Kumo, which is like the actual cloud, the stuff. You've got a fast moving average and a slow moving average. It's just a little bit, it's not as straightforward as just, like 50 EMA or 200 EMA, but you can think of them similarly, that they're, it's a fast and a slow moving average to find support and resistance on. The further apart they are, so if they're if they're far apart here, for example, then that represents an oversold and overbought market. And the further away we deviate from the fast moving average, the more oversold we are. And likewise, the higher we go, the more overbought we are. So if we're trending in between, that means, it's consolidated. Like we have a consolidated market. And not only that, but it's finding resistance on the slow moving average. And last time we had a big reversal, it had resistance right there. And we're poised right now with a potential reversal doji. So I'm of the belief that whatever this move that happens here will set the course for the next few weeks of price action. So what do I mean by that? If we break down, expect lower lows. And if we break up, expect a retest of this high at 11K. That's what I'm expecting. Okay. What else? So this is the 3-day cloud. And the fact that we have overhead resistance here at the 50 EMA, and it's like right there with the slow moving average for the Ichimoku cloud, doesn't look very good. However, if we look at the low time frames, we see a little bull pennant sort of thing forming here. Not necessarily on the cleanest of consolidated volume, but, you know, it's shaping up to be a little bull pennant. You know, just pretty straightforward bull pennant here. Oops. Which is nice because it looks like a reaccumulation trading range. But something to keep in mind here, though, is I've been noticing that, so I've got this little red bar here, this little red shading. And I'm starting to sketch out a little trading range here. It's very choppy, so I don't really feel confident calling it a redistribution. I'm sorry, a distribution or a reaccumulation. We don't see volume consolidation. We still see a presence of supply up here. That's why I have this red shaded here, is because anytime we break into this level, it gets immediately punched down. But the sells are getting weaker. Right, so we see a big spike here, a big spike here, and then not as big of a spike when we retested that level there. So we got rejected here on high volume, got rejected here on high volume, saw some decent volume here. But on this test of the high today, we didn't really see, we didn't see a whole lot of volume step in. So we did see a puncture of the bottom of this trend line, and I'll explain what this trend line is here in a second. But I mean, I see more this little pattern right here. I see more of a bullish argument than a bearish argument, honestly. Although it doesn't look consolidated on the low time frames, if we look at like the 4 hour, the consolidation looks a lot cleaner. So looking at the 4 hour, let's zoom in. You know, we do see a little bit cleaner of consolidation. So that brings me to what that trend line is. If we look at this trend, it looks like a giant rising wedge. So we see it here. You know, pretty clean outline here, here, and here. And the lower support is pretty well outlined. And we just had our, like, I don't know, a 10,000th test of that lower trend line, and it held up. So I opened a small long here. I've got a few buys set, you know, cascading down just a little bit. So during the stream, we might see some of my buys pop up down here. But overall, it's a bit of a coin flip, honestly. And that makes sense, right? So if we look at, like, if we go back to the 3-day, chart, that makes sense because we have a big doji, a big reversal doji that represents indecision. And it also could be the potential beginning of a breakout or a reversal. Last time we broke the 3-day B-band's midline, we saw a reversal. This also happens to line up with the cloud. So, you know, maybe we'll see a reversal here, but considering the trend has been up, I'm just by default going to lean bullish on it because, you know, we don't really have a whole lot to go by at the moment. We're testing. Okay, so I'll say this much. I have this wedge, right? This little wedge. Sorry, I know I have these lines everywhere and it looks like shit, but I have this big blue bar here because this is where I think shit is going to get, like, very turbulent in here. If we break out of our current trading range and we make it up into these values in here, like the lower end of the previous distribution right here, I'm expecting it to get rejected immediately. I'm expecting it to punch up and get immediately punched down. Even if we do have a continuation upward, I'm expecting it to go up and immediately get punched down before we continue upward, or go punch up and then get punched down in reverse. There's a lot of overhanging supply here. There's a lot of people that went short here that will protect this position. And there's a lot of macro fibs here. So there's like a confluence, you know, not only with the cloud, but you know, with the moving averages on the higher time frames, and plus this rising wedge doesn't look too bullish at the moment. So that's my take at the moment. Let's get some questions going, and we'll field a discussion here. Let's see. I can hear birds in your background. Okay, well. Could you take a look at the BCH BTC ratio? Bro, could you let me finish my thought? Jeez, oh Pete. I think a false breakout to 9.2K and then dump. Yeah, that's what I'm eyeballing too. I'm currently long, and then, you know, looking to ride out, you know, or take profit up here. How many days will we need to wait before knowing? I have no idea. I'm also watching the rising wedge on the 12-hour time frame. Cool. I think we can get one more leg up and then have to consolidate. How long do you expect the dump if we hit 9.2K? I don't really understand what that question means. You think we might have an up thrust after distribution to around 9.3K and then being sent back down? Can you verbalize your price levels? Can't read the chart. Why can't you read my chart? Increase the resolution to 1080. You can read it. Have you looked at where we compared to 2014 lately? Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, let's zoom out. So I was in a discussion with someone in my group about the previous market, and I broke it down in detail pretty well, I believe. So if we look at the previous market cycle rather, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, you know, when we had a parabolic top, a blow off, and then, you know, the multi-year bear market here, it went in phases, right? So we had the parabolic blow off, the bull trap, the long arduous grind down to the bottom, and then a really beautiful accumulation trading range. I don't really like to compare our current market to this. I think it's a great model to like look at price action, but I don't like to look at the previous bear market as being like, I think we're here. I don't know that that's like the most productive way to look at it, because then you get hung up on like, well, if we're here, then that means we have to go here. Like I don't think that's the most productive way to look at the current market, but I do see some similarities conceptually that I think are worth noting. So so these are 1-day candles, by the way. In the previous market, we had, just like our current market, we had a supply line, two different supply lines, right? So if we draw it from the peak and draw it down, we have this dotted line. If we draw it from the second peak, like we have, and we draw it down, we see this solid line here. One thing that's really important to note is that we did have a breakout of the downtrend in the previous bear market. We had a breakout from an accumulation bottom. So it, you know, marked down, had a temporary and we're going to zoom into this so we can look at the anatomy of that. So we had a temporary accumulation. It bounced, it distributed, and then it began a long markdown campaign. So let's take a look at this on like the 4-hour. Oh, I'm gonna have to scroll over there. Okay, so if we look at this guy, if I can pull up my pen, that'd be awesome. If we look at this guy right here, it's a really nice accumulation trading range. It's like really nice. Where's my, there we go. So, you know, we see the preliminary support, it breaks through it. We see a selling climax, an automatic reaction, a secondary test, and this terminal shakeout was especially brutal. We don't have any of this in our current trading range, but what we do, I mean, I guess we kind of do if you call this, you know, like if you draw some similarities to the 6K area, Let me see if I can pull up a couple of. Let me see if I can pull up a couple of different charts here, because I know I've posted this chart already. So let's see it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so so okay. So if we look at this chart right here, and compare it to our current chart, I see some similarities there. You know, like you can argue that this would be like our 6K bottom. This would be our retest of the low. Because this candle is so fucking extreme, I would chop it off. Because this is just like, you know, this is just like this and this, you know, like, yes, this was devastating at the time, but for the sake of analysis, I don't think it's relevant to consider anything below this. Just chop it off. So if you draw some similarities here, you know, you see like you could call this our 6K bottom. This would be our retest of the 6K bottom. With on an even lower time frame, this would be accumulation here, and then it rallies up very strongly on widespread. And let's zoom in on this. All right. Oh, nice. Okay. So if we zoom in on this, oh, it's not going to let me zoom. So if we zoom in on, yeah, let's look at this on like a lower time frame here. So just keep in mind that that this whole little rally is going to be this, just on a smaller time frame. So keep that in mind. We see that it's like on very widespread increasing volume, but it's like discrete amounts of increasing volume. So we see injection, 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 and you know, obviously we see some heavy sells before it pulls down. But what's important to note is how this accumulated on a larger scale. It broke out. It broke out of the downtrend here. These guys. It made like this little bull pennant thing that broke down. So it made a really, really big ass bull trap. It rallied, made a bull pennant, cool, broke out, had a weak breakout. I say weak because of the heavy sells that it encountered as soon as it hit this price level. But it made this bull pennant that broke down, and that trapped a lot of bulls. But the similarity that I'm drawing here, sorry, like I know I just, long story short, there are a lot of similarities with the price action because, you know, if we call this our 6K, we call this, you know, our 6K retest. And this would be our current like bounce out of that retest. It's very widespread on candle price action. And it ultimately makes a consolidation pattern that breaks down. Not only that, but it broke the downtrend. Like every way that you could construe this to be a downtrend, it broke it, right? So like, by all intents and purposes, I'm just kidding. I know it's not intensive purposes, but you know, it broke the downtrend. It 100% broke the downtrend. It didn't make a new high, but you know, it made higher lows and it broke the downtrend and trapped a lot of bulls up in here before it ultimately just like shat the bed for a long time. So I'm very keenly aware that that is something that Bitcoin is capable of doing. I'm very resistant to the idea that like this market is different than any other market. I think Bitcoin functions just like every other asset. It may function faster than a lot of other assets, you know, like its accumulation periods are a lot faster than like gold or silver or other precious metals. But for the most part, it operates the exact same way. The patterns are the exact same way. The bubbles are the exact same way. The bull traps the same way. The bear traps the same way. But yeah, you know, so if going back to the original question, if I had to point us to a place where I think we are relative to the previous market, I think we're here. I think we're here or somewhere in here, you know, somewhere in this region right here post breakout, it broke out here, it retested the breakout here, rallied strongly, made a really strong consolidation pattern, and had a weak breakout here that ultimately retraced, 150% of the breakout. So it broke up and retraced back down to the preliminary support of the trading range here. So I think if I had to draw a comparison, I'd say we're somewhere in here. But again, I don't really like to pinpoint it because, like I said, it could be a completely different situation this time. Okay. I don't think Bitcoin. Okay, here's a question. I don't think Bitcoin will have a multi-yearly bear market. We'll just see hype like last time, and idiots will buy Bitcoin. Okay. The price will spike. We'd only need the media to spam it. Okay. Do you think it's possible that we're currently in macro accumulation phase B? So let's go to our current market here. So short answer, yes, I do. This has been my argument. So this is going to look better. There we go. This has been my argument for a while. Why is that red? That should not be red. That we're in an accumulation trading range. But I don't. So okay. I think that this could be. There's a really great argument that this is an accumulation trading range. Yes. There's a very clear selling climax, automatic reaction, secondary test, and a secondary test of the lower boundary here. Going back to the previous trading range, this is very similar. This and this are very similar to the previous bottom that had the bull trap in it. I think that we see the downtrend here. It got broken. We never really retested it like we did before. Maybe we will retest it, but it doesn't seem interested in dropping just yet. But I see a really good argument for this being accumulation. But what I don't see, and what I'm very hesitant toward, is but I don't see a shakeout at any point. I don't see a test of the lows. Not that that's 100% necessary for every trading range, but Bitcoin is an especially volatile asset, and I just think it would be uncharacteristic to not see something like this. I mean, Bitcoin is like, if you've been trading Bitcoin for more than like a month, you know that like even in bull markets, it's laden with traps. So I don't think the accumulation would be this straightforward. So someone on Twitch is asking me, why haven't you considered the absolute capitulation of Mt. Gox on the 2014 cycle? And you've asked me that 4 times. What are you talking about? Why haven't you considered the absolute capitulation of Mt. Gox in the 2014 cycle? Why do you think that I haven't? Of course that's what happened. What are you saying? Do you think we're bullish because Tone Vase is bearish? No. I think Tone Vase has actually been pretty level-headed on his calls lately. As much shit as I give him, I think he's, had a pretty good run of calls lately. Hi, do you have a tool to measure buy/sell pressure? How would you read it? Yeah, there's an indicator. It's called, what's it called? Where the hell is it? I have it on this setting. Or is it this one? This is the indicator you're looking for. Volume flow V6. It splits up the volume into buy and sell. Obviously the buy is on top and the sells are on bottom. That's what you want. Hey Schmidt, I posted a question 8 lines up. Not sure if it was missed by any chance. Can you touch on it? Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Okay. All right, so the question is, can you review the signs of our last trading range, 7K? Okay, let's get there. 7K, I'm assuming you mean this one? Or which one are you talking about, this one or this one? Looked like a distribution or accumulation at different points, and how it was ultimately turned out to be accumulation. And if possible, what signs may have given away that the accumulation was rather than, yeah. Okay, so the question, it's this one, I'm assuming. So the question is, it looked like, let's look at the 30-minute maybe, is that gonna be better? It looked like accumulation and distribution. What signs did you have, or what signs could we have seen that could have pointed it toward accumulation rather than distribution? So this change of, okay, let's zoom in here. So this change of character was particularly interesting. This is considered a change of character here because of how choppy it got, how narrow the price range got. It stopped retesting the top and bottom of the trading range. We stopped seeing this sort of stuff. I mean, it's obvious, right? Especially when you look at like the 60-minute, for example, that this price action is considerably different. This price action is considerably different than everything else that was going on here. I mean, it looked similar to this, but in general, like the pressure that it had to go up and the time it spent going up was considerably different than the rest of the price action. So this is considered what is known as a change of character. And the change of character is where a lot of information is revealed. So let's, I want to clip off these wicks. This volume is very hard to read when all these like large ass green candles are here. So one sign, in hindsight, one sign that it was accumulation. It could have been, I mean, just from a fundamental standpoint, that we were making higher lows. But one thing, I'm going to tell you a few things that really threw me off about this trading range, and what really, I suspect, trapped a lot of bears. So we never saw a shakeout, right? We saw a very confined trading range. Okay. The trading range remained volatile throughout the entire trading range. I guess you can consider this to be the change of character that removed the volatility. This is most likely where you would make the argument then that this whole leading up to, so if you were like to chop this in half, right? So everything over here was hyper volatile. And yes, this was volatile, but it wasn't as volatile. So this would be the change of character that says, typically with accumulation, we start off volatile and then we become consolidated and then we break out as the CO gains market control. You know, so for example, if you look at something like the previous accumulation trading range here, this becomes a little bit more obvious that in hindsight that, you know, we had a spring, we had a spring here, and then as the CO gets control over the market, it kind of just drifts upward before it ultimately breaks out. I definitely, even if I was like the most bullish, I definitely would not have anticipated this fucking candle right here. This came out of nowhere. We never saw a jump across the creek here. We never saw a retest of the lows here. And as it trended upward, like the volume didn't really consolidate. So this was a tricky trading range as well. If you're looking at just pure price action, this has the marks of an accumulation. But if you look at the volume, it tells a different story. And that's the same thing that happened here. Oops. In this reaccumulation trading range. It tells a very different story when we put into context the volume with the price action. We don't see any volume consolidation here. The volume at no point goes down. Like, it just kind of stays constant. And not only that, but we never saw a retest of the lows. We never saw like a spring or like a shakeout of any kind. So yeah, I mean, this was a tricky accumulation as well. And that's honestly, that's part of the reason why I think that this could be a reaccumulation, because, you know, we are seeing higher lows. That's good. We're seeing higher lows. Check. Volume across the board is going down. Cool. But the volatility is what's really throwing me off here. I mean, it keeps doing these 100% retracements. So, you know, it goes up here, goes down, goes here, goes down, goes here, goes here, goes here. You know, it keeps doing these 100% retracements to chop people up. But, you know, given this accumulation trading range on the bottom, it makes sense that, you know, this might be a reaccumulation before we see a distribution at the top here. So, but right now it's like, man, it's very hard to read. It's very neutral for just the Bitcoin USD market. So I hope that answered your question. I said a lot. So someone from Twitch asked, I don't think I've ever seen you use Pitchfork as tools. Is there a reason for that? No, I just, you know, I like to keep my tool belt simple, so it's just something I haven't implemented, but I'm sure it would actually really help me out. So maybe I will in the future, but, you know, I just haven't. For no particular reason, I just haven't. Why are you saying that reduced volume is a good sign? Some say reduced buy pressure is a bad sign. So don't think of it in terms of reduced buy pressure. Think about it like this. I'll find a better trading range to illustrate this, because there have been a lot of really great BTC alt pairs that are showing this sort of characteristic. So here, for example, if you look at BCH BTC, something like maybe the 120-minute view. Let's zoom in. So there was a really nice accumulation on BCH BTC, and you can see here that the change of character, which would be this guy, comes on reduced volume, right? Comes on the volume significantly lower than like here and the first half. So typically what we want to see in accumulation is, you know, the latter chunk of the trading range. So if we're thinking about the trading range like here, we want to see reduced volume, because that indicates supply is being absorbed. The goal of accumulation is to convince the public to sell the CO their supply. And there are different ways to do that. You know, there's, you know, things like springs, which is, you know, this. And the dead giveaway here would have been the spring here on low volume, which indicates that the supply is being absorbed. And what that means, if just very simply put, if supply is absorbed, that means that all the sellers are absent. Or enough sellers are absent that the CO has gathered anyone who's going to sell, he bought all their shit, right? So if he's shaking out all the sellers, you know, in this price range from here to here, everything in here, and he's done it several times, and now on the 1, 2, 3, 4th time it's on low volume, well, that's not a lack of buy pressure, that's actually a lack of sell pressure. And as we see this change of character here, where it's very like just kind of just, you know, chops all the way up to the top of the trading range, this change of character represents the lack of sellers and how easy it is for the CO to push the price up. So every time the composite operator is testing the top here, I was going back and reviewing some of my Wyckoff material, and I really liked what Bruce Fraser had to say when he said, whenever there's an upthrust, this is a question. It's a question that looks for an answer. So whenever we get these upthrusts to the top of the trading range like this, the CO is asking, how much supply is there? How much supply? And the answer is in this sell pressure here, right? And he does it again. He says, okay, well, how much now? And you can see here, he tests it again, and it does not get rejected. You know, so he's buying all these dips, pushing the price up. We see this change of character here, which means that all the sellers have been shaken out, and now he's got proper control of the market. So now he can push up the price with ease because all the sellers have been shaken out. He's already taken all the supply from all the sellers, right? He's shaking out the weak hands, and now he can push up the price with ease because there are no sell orders in the way, so he can just, you know, push right up through these price levels with ease. So that's why sometimes I say that low volume exiting a trading range is actually really bullish, because it indicates that the CO is sponsoring this move, and that the volume is mostly buy and not sell. So I hope that answered your question. Do you see any particular level that will definitively turn you into 100% bull? I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where I'm 100% bull. Just like there's never going to be a time when I'm 100% bear. I don't think that's, don't look for that, because it's not going to happen out of me. Can you elaborate on the concept of the CO? Yeah, so CO is just an acronym. CO equals composite operator. It's just a way to rationalize. So, okay, imagine it like this. This is how I explained it to someone in my group the other day. Imagine you've got, you know, quite simply, you've got bulls and you've got bears. The bulls want to push the price up and the bears want to push the price down. Okay? If you've got 5 guys, or let's say you've got 4 guys, 4 dudes, 2 have, collectively, you've got 2 bulls and 2 bears. The 2 bulls collectively have, you know, $20 million, 20 million. You have $20 million. And the 2 bears have collectively $10 million. Then compositely, this would be a net composite operator of $10 million to the north. Which means that whatever these bears do, these bulls are going to eat them alive, right? And they're playing right into this guy's scheme. So the composite operator is just a way to rationalize the market action through the lens of compositely one human being, one actor. So that's just a way to rationalize that. It's just market theory. It's not like an actual person I mean, yeah, there are actual people that are moving the market, but it's, you know, it's like, it's just a way to rationalize the overall direction of the market. So if we were continuing on that two bulls, two bears theory, here, this would represent the point where the bears are exhausted and now the bulls are taking over, and they're now pushing the price up because the bears have lost the battle here. That's what that would represent. All right, you guys have any more questions? We can talk about some of the alt pairs that I'm looking at, and ones that I think are going to be really promising in the long run, whether or not Bitcoin is going to shit its brains out or not. Great explanation. Thanks. You're welcome. Love all your content. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So BCH, I mean, I don't have to tell you that BCH is like bullish as fuck. It's up 100% in 5 days. That's not something that a bearish asset does. But in the long run, I'm looking at this thing like it's in a macro trading range. Where is it? Oh, here. I'm looking at this thing like it's in a macro trading range. And I'm looking at the USD. This is the USD pair, keep in mind, okay? So I'm looking at this like it's a macro accumulation trading range. This is the 6 hour chart for BCH USD. You know, this would be the spring. Let's zoom in a little bit so the volume looks better. This would be the spring, right? This would be your selling climax, your automatic reaction, your secondary test, creek, and here's your spring, okay? Typically with the spring, and you know, obviously this would be the jump across the creek. This would be your JAC, jump across the creek. There is a retracement. So I'm expecting this thing to, before it actually breaks, I mean, obviously I could be proven wrong, but I'm expecting this thing to pull back, you know, somewhere in this price, you know, this price level in here. You know, most likely to here, you know, this 1K, maybe 900 region. This would be, if it pulls back, this would be our BUEC, our back up to the edge of the creek. You know, the creek continues on, boop, boop, boop. So, you know, if you miss this buy opportunity, I'm personally going to be waiting to see buy opportunities in here, because that's where I think the least risk with the highest reward is going to be. And in the event that Bitcoin does pull back, I do see a, you know, a real good argument that it's going to, that BCH, you know, it's not going to pull back, but it's going to show strength. And it's not, I don't think it's going to do 100% retracement. I think it's going to pull back and ultimately find support here. And there are actually a few coins that look just like this. So I'm going to continue down the line. I'm gonna continue down the line here, but for the most part, I think, so this is preliminary support. I think we're nearing our top here, and we're gonna see a retracement pretty soon before it continues up to for the real bull run for BCH. What else do I have? I think, was it Ether? Ether is doing that as well. No, Ether is not doing that. This is Ether USD. Ether did have an accumulation trading range like Bitcoin did, but it's currently slamming into its supply line right here. So this is Ether USD. It's currently slamming into its supply line right here. It did have a really nice accumulation, but I think it's tracking more what Bitcoin's doing and not necessarily having its own little sort of deal. But if we look at the, what does the Ether Bitcoin ratio look like? Okay. Not quite sold on this yet either. Ether Bitcoin doesn't look the best at the moment. Let's take a look at the cloud and see see if we can get any insight from the cloud here. Okay, so the daily, so we're in the daily cloud right now. That's good. We got a weak bullish cross here. That's good. This is the Kumo's narrowing, not quite twisted yet. And if we look at the 12 hour is pretty bullish. Okay. But we are running into some macro resistance here, and if I remember correctly, there's a B-bands double top set up here on the 6 hour. Let's see if that's still valid. Yeah, so there's a B-bands M top here. It's really nice M top on the 6 hour for Ether Bitcoin. You know, here's the M. Which is nice because it's running right into resistance on both the USD pair and the Bitcoin pair. So here's your resistance. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see this pull back as well. You know, pull back to maybe the midline or even the support level right here. That would be the most devastating price target here. But it does look like it's kind of running out of steam here. The second high is on significantly lower volume. And the B-bands are starting to round out. You can see here with the BBW that it's starting to narrow. So it makes sense that it needs a little pressure relief. So we'll have to play this one by ear. What else? What else do I have here? Oh, OMG. Oh, yeah. So OMG is making like... Here's the 30-minute USD. Let's look at the 2 hour maybe. It's making like a head and shoulders kind of thing. I mean, you can argue a pennant here. But... you know, maybe a symmetrical triangle will be appropriate. OMG might be making a symmetrical triangle here. Last I looked at it, it looked more like a head and shoulders, but you know, maybe it's actually making a symmetrical triangle. Volume is very consolidated here. That's nice. I have to watch this one as well. Neo BTC just entered the 1 day cloud. 12 hour is starting to look bullish. Okay. I would like to see the Chiku span through the cloud. That would have me a lot more bullish, but it looks like it's finding support on the slow moving average. So that's good on the 12 hour. What else? Oh, XRP for show. Look at XRP for show. So the 6 hour XRP, it looks like it's breaking out of an accumulation, a macro accumulation. So if we break down XRP BTC, so this would be our last point of support here. Where is it? XRP looks like it's making a little bull pennant thing. And I think it needs to consolidate a little bit more, because if you look at the 6 hour B-bands, they're still coming in. The 4 hour is coming in nicely, but not quite as squeezed as the previous breakout. So might get a better entry for a long on XRP BTC. And the USD pair is the same story, I believe, if I remember correctly. So if you look at the 4 hour, yeah, it's making a really nice bull pennant here. And yeah, it's consolidating really nicely. Probably could consolidate a bit more. Yeah, same story. So XRP looks pretty bullish right now. And by pretty, I mean it looks really bullish right now. So So everyone's saying they want to see EOS. Where is it? Yeah, let's look at EOS. So let's see. So here's the BTC pair. If we look at the cloud, what the fuck? If we look at the cloud on the daily, if I remember correctly, the daily is like incredibly bullish right now for EOS BTC. Okay, incredibly bullish. We see a breakout of the Chiku span to the cloud. We find a weak bullish cross here. Price is being supported on the slow moving average. It's making new highs. And we got a green Kumo. So this is like check, 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 check. You know, Chiku's through the cloud. Price is trending above the cloud. And it found support on the 200 EMA. So EOS BTC is looking very bullish. How do the Bollinger Bands look? So Bollinger Bands, okay, so on the daily, I gotta point this out as well. So on the daily, there's a potential for a B-Bands double top. It's not quite as clean because we see this wick at the top, but yeah, there is a potential for a B-Bands M top on the 1 day, so we could see some pullback, which would be good. You know, it's been on quite a rampage, and it'd be good to retest some support levels before a continuation of the uptrend. And I would be willing to bet if we look at the USD pair, we'll see something similar. So USD 4-hour B-bands are consolidated really nicely. What else can we say? 6 hour, not so much. 1 day, not looking the best on the Bollinger Bands, but that doesn't mean it has to pull back. It just means, you know, it might be lacking some upward pressure. How does the Ichimoku cloud look? So same story on the USD pair. Well, almost same story. Chiku span is almost through the cloud, not quite there yet. We have found support on the fast moving average. So I would expect to see in the event of a pullback on Bitcoin or on EOS to find support here on the Kijun, right here. This price level right here. So if you missed the long opportunity here, I personally wouldn't buy it until I see a retest of this guy for confirmation of the uptrend. But for the most part, this is looking bullish. We see a green Kumo. It's not like narrow or thin. It's like just a pretty average run-of-the-mill Kumo. Price is trending up. MAs are trending up. We found support on the fast-moving average, but I'd like to see a retest of the slow before a continuation, because we're pretty overbought here. We're pretty far away from the equilibrium point. But yeah, Chico's almost through the cloud. So EOS is, I think I said this a few months ago, but like I think EOS is going to have a really great year. Just not even considering like the tech whatsoever, just looking at the market, it looks really great. I'm just not sold on going long on it yet. I'd like to see a retest of the support levels before I feel comfortable going long on it. Can I have your opinion on OMG being an accumulation? On what time frame are you referring to? I can talk about it. On the 1 day, were you talking about OMG BTC or USD? I don't know. I don't know if are you referring to this being the accumulation right here? Oh, OMG Ether? What? You gotta be more specific, dog. I don't know, man. We don't really have a whole lot of information on this market. I would feel more comfortable. I don't think there's enough history to make that sort of call. I would feel more comfortable looking at OMG BTC. I think there's an argument to be made that this is reaccumulation here, for sure. Yeah, I see an argument for this being a reaccumulation here. But I think it's probably best viewed on the 6 hour, maybe the 12 hour. So I see a really good argument for this being accumulation, or I'm sorry, reaccumulation. With this being, oops. So I'll draw out a little trading range here. Okay, so let's analyze this a bit. Let's break this down. I have a specific way I like to draw my charts, so give me a second. I draw the thick lines to be what I represent to be the meat of the trading range, and then other key points I do like little dotted lines. Should do this too, right here. Actually, this isn't really, I don't want that. Okay, this is a good trading range here, I feel. Okay, so let's analyze this trading range because I think this is a good one. If I can pull up my pen, that'd be sweet. Sorry guys, I'm waiting for some reason the program doesn't like to pull up the first time I click on it. Well, while I'm waiting for that to happen, let me just go ahead and plug my group here. I have a trading group at bitcoinschmitcoin.com. It's a Discord trading group. And for the next week now, it expires in a week, you can use coupon code BEARHUG to get $50 off your membership. So if you like this kind of analysis and you want to learn how to do it, or just even just see what kind of charts I'm posting regularly on different coins, that would be the place to do it. I'm active on there more hours than I'm not in the day. So that's bitcoinschmitcoin.com, coupon code BEARHUG for the next 7 days. And come May, I don't want to see any of you new guys crying about how the price or how the coupon code doesn't work anymore, because I done told you. I done told you, kids. Done told you once. All right, am I gonna be able to fucking sketch on this? That'd be great. Here we go. Okay, so if we're looking at this like, reaccumulation, which it does look like reaccumulation, it would be like this. So this would be preliminary supply here, your PSY. This would be maybe your preliminary support. Here's your buying climax, your automatic reaction, your secondary tests / up thrust kind of thing, creek, and then this would be a spring. So here's your spring, your retest, and this would be the spot to go long right here. You're gonna retest, you're gonna go long on the spring. You know it's a spring because it's, if we look down here, it's on very low volume. Testing key support on low volume, and not only that, but like the creek, as we meander down the creek, the volume is just like super consolidated, and so ultimately pop, we bang out of the spring, we see the jump across the creek. Here's your J. Here's a JAC here and here. So your jump across the creek is here, here, and here. And here's your BUEC right here, BUEC, where it retests the preliminary supply high. So this looks really good. This is a really good good find to whoever pointed this out. This is a really great reaccumulation trading range for OMG BTC. Something that does worry me though, this might not necessarily be the top here. If we're looking at like, if we're looking at volume here, like this doesn't scream sponsorship here. This screams like a test. This seems more like a secondary test. The volume's still highly absent, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this revisit these lows before the real volume kicks in. Overall volume is still fairly low here. This seems more like a secondary test, so I would be careful. Personally, I wouldn't long this until I see either a retest of the low or a breakout of the trading range on the sign of strength. This just seems more like a sign of strength more than anything. Do you also trade gold and silver? No, but I've been charting it. I'm thinking about trading it. Silver is making a really nice. Let's see if I can. XAU. Oh wait, sorry. XAG. So if we look at like, can you guys hear my dog drinking water? She's so thirsty right now. So if we look at the daily here, oh, where'd my annotation go? What the fuck? Was it on the 3-day? That's not cool. I have a chart. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see. I have to dig through my tweets real quick to find the chart for that, because I don't feel like redoing it. I sent this to Moku. So here's the chart of silver. It looks like a reaccumulation trading range, very similar to this. We see a low volume. We see a low volume spring. See a low volume spring here. We're sitting right on. This is an old chart, keep in mind, because I think we've actually retraced down to here now. So it'll be interesting to see where we go here, because if we start making higher lows, this could be a really great long entry for silver. So we see a low volume spring, a sign of strength, and right now we're nearing the last point of supply. So if you're comparing it to like a previous chart, we're like right here, you know, somewhere in here. So we want to see a higher low here. We want to see something that fails to make a new low here for a really great buying opportunity on silver. But But in general, yeah, it's like a really great buy opportunity right now. It's at the last point of supply area, so anywhere in here is gonna be, in my opinion, a really great buying opportunity for silver. This dude's chanting EOS. I literally just did EOS, so just go back in time and look. Can we look at the Litecoin USD chart? Litecoin USD. Whoa. I haven't looked this far out in Litecoin USD in a while. It's making a descending triangle. I never noticed that. Pretty clean one too. Something like that. Thereabouts. Which makes sense. It's like right around previous high. So anywhere in there, it looks like a really great buy opportunity for Litecoin. Just gonna make a little note for myself here. We'll probably see a little shakeout out of Litecoin here. That would be my guess. IOTA USD. All right, I'll take IOTA USD and then we'll bounce here because I've been streaming for over an hour now. So let's take a look. IOTA USD looked very similar to the previous one we were just looking at for Litecoin. Especially because my dumbass neighbor is sitting right outside my window for whatever reason. So we're gonna hear him talk, and I don't really want to listen to him talk. So I had a really nice inverse head and shoulders here. It broke out cleanly. It's kind of doing like a rising wedge thing, looks like. Pretty clean rising wedge. Something like that. Looks very similar to the Bitcoin USD chart. So I think it's just following what Bitcoin's doing here. But damn, yeah, I made some really good gains 100% in a few days. So it is running into previous resistance. Yeah, this is tracking Bitcoin pretty one-to-one at the moment. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you guys want to hear more of my thoughts on a more frequent basis, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and join my trading community for the next week. And then after the next week, it'll expire. There's a coupon code for $50 off your first month. And that's coupon code BearHugs. So go over there and check it out and get signed up before the opportunity passes you by. Or just don't. Up to you. But for the time being, that's all I got for you guys. I'll try to do a stream at the end of the week, but I'm going to be doing some traveling this week, so I might be a little incommunicado a little bit. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and hopefully don't get chopped up too much by this Bitcoin price action. What's it doing right now? Let's look at it right before we close out here. Where are all my drawings and stuff? Why is there no labeling? Where did all my, what is going on right now? Where did all my drawing and stuff go? Did I accidentally turn them off? What is going on right now? What? Anyway, I'll figure this out. I have no idea why this is referring to an old chart, but anyway, you guys have a great rest of your week, and yeah, I'll update you guys later. Bye.